Lovies, it is Coach Ang and Samyuktha, and we are here with another edition of A Little Perspective. We are so glad to have a really special guest on that is covering a topic that we have not yet covered. Samyuktha, why don't you take it away since I seem to not be able to talk?
Sure thing, and while you catch your breath, I will introduce our guest for this afternoon. His name is Darnel Turner. He is from Gulfport, Mississippi, and we're excited to learn more about you and your story. So, Darnell, why don't you introduce yourself?
Again, hi ladies, thanks for having me. I'm Darnel Turner in Gulfport, Mississippi. Just here to talk about this disease, vitiligo, and share with those that may have a misconception or misunderstanding about this disease.
Thank you so much. So, it is a condition that people kind of are familiar with because of, Michael Jackson and Winnie Harlow, but it's not something that is really common or commonly seen, I should say. So, would you tell us a little bit about when you were first diagnosed with this?
Oh, sure. When it first began, I really thought that it was a rash, not knowing that it was deeper than that. And I started doing other things trying to alleviate it from a rash, using other kind of substance to try to eradicate it, but it never would go away. And as it persisted on my finger, it caused me to want to seek out and find out if something was going on. So I scheduled an appointment to a dermatologist.
Could you talk about what it is, what is vitiligo, and talk more about after you scheduled that appointment, how is the diagnosis and what happened after that?
Well, I really didn't have an understanding on it. And like the host stated about Michael Jackson, back in the days, we all kind of kidded about his condition, not having a full understanding that it was a condition. We thought that he bleached his skin. And when it came to me, personally, after I got the diagnosis from my dermatologist, she stated that it's a disease called vitiligo. And so that prompted me to begin to investigate, well, what is vitiligo? And once I started investigating while I was seeking treatment, it began to tell me that it was an immune deficiency disease that attacks the white blood cells and cause the pigment to eradicate from the body. And so reading, I've also discovered that it normally starts at birth or to 38 years old or something like that would be the cutoff. Well, for me, mine started in my early 40s. And so I was struck that how could that be if it's stating that the disease is like from 0 to 37. So I was kind of baffled by it. But as I proceeded to do my treatments, we started with what they call shock treatments, for as going into a laser, something like a laser unit to kind of shock the pigment back into the skin. So we started that process. And so I started to see some results, but once I stopped doing the treatments, then of course, it comes back. So.
Oh, wow. So you have to continue those kinds of treatments for it to continue.
Yes, correct. And
wow.
Just to give you an insight, and those treatments are very expensive. I mean, they have different options. treatments that you could take and different options for as doing what they did with Michael Jackson, and that is to pull all of your pigment out of your body to kind of match your body so it won't look like mine's look now with my face, with the depigmentation of my face and not in the rest of my body.
Oh, wow. So, so was Michael Jackson's skin lightening then more a treatment than a actual skin bleaching?
It was a treatment, exactly.
Wow.
As I've gotten to know the disease and realize what it is, yeah, he had, the dermatologist said he had a complete body depigmentation where they take all of your pigment out of your body to match your body. So if I was to take that treatment, they can take all of this melanella out of my body and make it this color. But of course, I'm not choosing to do that.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. What would that do to your sun protection? Would that make you sensitive as me, an Irish girl, to the sun, or or not necessarily?
Either or. I mean, the sun is actually good for this disease for a period of time. But again, when you lose melanin in your skin as a Black man, it makes you susceptible to, if you stay out in the sun too long, you get skin cancer. So it's a 50-50 kind of, so to speak.
That's interesting. How common is it? Is it something that is super rare, or just something that we don't see very often?
Here lately, I've been noticing since my diagnosed with it, I've been noticing lately that I've seen a lot of other people with vitiligo, and it's almost to a point where now it's becoming like a common thing. Back then, it wasn't so much as common as it is now, because people didn't have a real understanding of this disease, and they will look at you funny. I mean, I get people looking at kids, you know, they look at me and they are curious of why and what happened, you know, what happened to him.
Well,
Does
Samyuktha,
uh-huh.
sorry,
Oh,
Samyuktha
go
and I
ahead.
are certainly used to that for sure. The
Yeah.
kids,
The
you know,
kids.
wondering, because kids, man, they just say it, right? They don't have any hesitancy.
No
So,
filter.
No filter, exactly.
no, none at all.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, so
mentioned that like the vitiligo is a condition that attacks the blood cells. So has it affected your immunity as a whole?
it has, just in this area, it only has affected my skin. Uh, don't have any other issues, immunity issues, other than that.
So what would you tell the kids? So when you go through your daily life and you see kids staring at you, the kids are curious or they point or when they react, in the way kids usually do you talk to them about vitiligo or how do you respond to that curiosity?
I had a situation to happen. Me and a friend of mine, we was out eating at a restaurant, and a family of four, mom and her three children, and they had one of the younger ones, maybe about 4 to 7, and she kept staring. And so I played into it, and I turned around and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And so her mom said, kind of scold the child and made her turn. And so I used that as a moment to educate. And I told her mom, I say, "Mom, it's okay. she just don't understand why this man skin is two different colors. And so I said, it's not her fault. She just don't understand what I'm dealing with. And so it corrected the mom's scolding and brought her back to a place to whereas this was a learning opportunity for her child. And so I mean, it was just I'm learning. Now let me put this disclaimer out there. I haven't always been in this place with this disease. When it first started, my dermatologist told me there are several things that I could do. And one of the things was to get Dermablend makeup and cover the spots on your face to match the color of your skin. And so, of course, I did that. I did it for years, and I felt very, very uncomfortable, very depressing to have makeup on when I know people could tell. Some say they didn't, but I know some could. And when you hear people whisper in a distance, and he has makeup on, and this and that and the third, and so it kind of killed my self-confidence, and it caused a depression to come up on me. And so it was very depressing. It was very humiliating to actually go through that process. But
how did you finally make the decision to say, you know what, this isn't doing me any favors, I'm not going to do this anymore?
I was on deployment this year. It just happened this year. I was on deployment in Seattle, Washington. And when I got to Seattle, I decided that I wasn't going to wear the Dermablend anymore. And I said to myself, I'm in a different place. I'm not amongst my hometown people that know me. And so I'm just gonna let it flow. And it brought me so much liberty. It liberated me. It gave me self-confidence. It allowed me to share my story with some of my coworkers on that deployment. And so I decided to just go with the flow. But now, and on my way back from my deployment, I took the Amtrak train, and one of the attendants who was attending my cart, he came to me and he said, do you mind? Well, he asked me my situation and what's going on. And I told him my situation. He said, do you mind if I take a picture of you and send it to my nephew? He says, because my nephew is 14 years old and he's going through the same thing that you are, and he is being picked on at school. He's to the point now where he don't even want to go outside. And so I told him, sure, take a picture and let him see that he can be cool just like me. And if he needs my encouragement, I'll be here to encourage him. And so that's how that conversation started. And so I did get an opportunity to witness to him for his nephew.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How did that feel? Like you said in the beginning, like when you went to, Seattle, Washington, and that liberation, and in that moment, how did that feel? Because seeing, in the beginning, you said you were losing that self-confidence, feeling depressed, and then to now you're hearing of a boy living with this condition, and you being able to be that example, or just like making him feel that he's not alone, that it is okay.
Right. And it feels great. It's almost like a ministry within itself. And when situations happen to us, we first try to figure out, well, why, God, did you allow this situation to happen to me? And so I went through those moments, struggle and back and forth with God and wanting to know why. And so I'd say that he allowed it to be for that little 14-year-old kid. One of the reasons he allowed me to go through it at this point, to be able to witness to that 14-year-old kid. I wasn't expecting that. I noticed the attendant looking at me from a distance, and then he approached me eventually, and with that conversation. And so being able to be liberated and being able to be free is nothing. There's no comparison. I mean, you don't have to walk with that, your head down, or that depressing feeling within your stomach. You're always thinking somebody is looking at you, especially when I was wearing the makeup. I always felt like, oh, they watching me. What are they looking at me like that for? And they probably was looking across the room at something else, but I was so self-conscious that I felt like they was actually staring at me. And so after leaving Seattle, coming back to Mississippi, here comes my test, if you will. Here come the real test. Are you gonna stay liberated without the makeup, or are you gonna go back in hiding? Well, ladies, I got to tell the truth. I went back in hiding for 3 days. For 3 days. I put the Derma blend back on for 3 days. And on that 3rd day, I was at a doctor's appointment. And I just made a self-conscious decision to air it on Facebook without makeup to all my Facebook friends and people in the community to see me as I am now.
You
And
just ripped that Band-Aid right off, boy. I tell you what.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the support that I received, positive support I received after doing this, made me feel that much more great that I could have did this years ago. My wife used to tell me, you ought to just be yourself. But, I heard that. And my kids told me I heard that, but I wasn't at that point at that time. So
I find it fascinating that you found so much more freedom without the makeup than with the makeup, that you are less insecure without the makeup than with the makeup. And I feel like that is such a telling thing for all of us to hear, that when we are our authentic selves, then that's when happiness and true joy comes. That's when we're able to be who we're supposed to be, instead of constantly trying to keep that makeup on and hide.
Yes.
Man, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Darnell. That is, wow, that's awesome. And I know that you said like that you had the experience with the attendant and the 14-year-old, and you saw that how you could help them, but you also don't see the hundreds, if not thousands, of others that you're helping as well, who don't necessarily have vitiligo, but who are struggling with being their authentic selves. And
Right.
they see you. I mean, you are dapper. Like, we've been Facebook friends for a little bit. You are always dressed well. You always represent yourself very well. And so you clearly exude confidence, and for someone to just see like this man exuding confidence in a society that, you know, may tell him he shouldn't, is that's motivating, that's inspiring, and to people that you have no clue that you're doing that for, and you are, I assure you, you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you tell Darnel, who just found out about the diagnosis?
I would tell Darnel at this point, it's a life thing. Things happen. Just go through the process. Seek help first. If that's help, seek it. And if that help can help you, then of course, get the help that you need. But if you're in a situation where it's no help for that, for it, then you just find a way to encourage yourself. And once you encourage yourself, live. Just live. I mean, live the life that you have been given. Just live and find happiness in your life and share when that opportunity comes to be able to share. And so that's what I would tell that Darnel at 43 years old. Don't stress, don't worry about it. Just live, relax and live.
I love that. I love that. And that's what you're doing. You are living. That's awesome.
Yes.
So you came out essentially to the people in Seattle initially, and how did that go? You said it went well, but you know, did they have a bunch of questions, or did they just kind of take it and just move along like it wasn't a big deal? Or you know, how did that go? And did you have to work yourself up to have the conversation?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish it could have just went as it was and no question would have been asked. But of course, that was co-workers asking questions. This particular co-worker from California, she approached me eventually and she stated, well, what's your story? And so I never heard that saying before, well, what's your story? And so I was taken aback, reluctantly, but she went further and she asked me about my family, and then she made her way back around to ask me about my condition. And so she thought initially that I had been burned in the face. And I told her, no, it's not a burn. It is called vitiligo. So it gave me a moment to be able to educate her on my condition. And so then she related it, and it seemed like everybody related to Michael Jackson. Well, it is true he did have it, but he's not the only person that has vitiligo. But I guess he's the person that people seen the most. But I was able to share with her my story and my situation. And it was a struggle at first, but I said to myself, well, these people don't know you. And so you might not even see these people again for years. And so that alone gave me the confidence to go out like a kid being inside for so long and scared of going outside. It was challenging. It was challenging. It was very challenging, but every day gave me confidence. Every day I gained more self-confidence until after a while, it just was normal to me. And people wasn't evading me. I mean, they was actually complimenting me. Some would say, I like that. vitiligo. I like the look, and so that gave me more confidence to be able to walk around, and then if asked, be able to share my story.
Love that. It's so like reassuring to hear, the support, the positivity that you're getting from, the people around you. Um, but for the people who still don't know much about vitiligo, and like there are obviously, still some, misconceptions and misunderstandings about, the condition, especially how, like, Michael Jackson, and just like how the media portrayed, his condition, like how you said, like, oh, like he did get skin treatment. It's not skin bleaching. And, whatever the media grabs, like can grab on, they grab it and they run with it. So could you talk more about the misconceptions of vitiligo, and like you said, like how, the lady that talked to you, she thought, your face was burned. um can you go more into that, and like what other misconceptions, myths about vitiligo are there?
It varies, and of course, when people don't have an understanding, um, you try to, if they're open, first of all, if they're open to receive the understanding, then you try your best to educate on this disease. I was one when, before this vitiligo started happening, I was in that number of stating about Michael Jackson bleaching his skin. I definitely was one to say, yeah, he tried. He done had facelifts. He done did this to his body. Now he's bleaching his skin, not knowing that he himself, being who he was to the world, uh, may have had self uh, self-conscious. He was uh, it bruised him in a way. Let me say it that way. It bruised him, his self-confidence in a way too. Even though he was a king of pop, we know him as the king of pop, but when he was by himself, we don't really know the challenges that he faced with his condition. And for him to have to go through that process of first of all, he had the finances to actually go through that process of just turning his whole body to that one color. It wasn't bleach. He had a condition, and he had the finances to make his body the same color as the parts of his body that was losing pigment. I try to help educate many people as I can concerning this disease. And it's just that, it's a disease. And I want to say this does not affect other areas of your body, as far as people thinking it's contagious. People think that maybe you can contract this by someone touching you with this, and the misconception of thinking that they can get it by brushing up against you. No, it's an immune deficiency disease. And if your immune system is affected in any kind of way, it can cause this situation to happen. Also, it can cause other situations to happen with your body, for as people having spots in their head when they started losing their hair. So it could go in any other area when you deal with an immune deficiency issue. So I would just try to, at this point, like I stated early on, it's so many people now you see with this condition, to now where it's really opening the eyes of the masses, and some are understanding and that this is a disease, it's an issue, it's nothing that you can control. You have this lady model, I don't know her name, but she's a big model in the industry, and she suffers with vitiligo, but she used her vitiligo to gain her popularity, and people are adjusting to this disease. I mean, look at the television shows. I mean, commercials. You will see now in the advertisement industry, they're trying to bring it out in the opening for more people to understand this disease. And I'm appreciative of that because I'm a part of this community.
Yeah, I think that the next generation, instead of when someone has the condition, someone else assigning it to Michael Jackson, I think they'll assign it to Winnie Harlow, who is that model. She's a Victoria's Secret model. She's done a ton of stuff, and it's all over her body. Like it's, it's very much predominant, prominent, and she, I mean, she's obviously stunning, but the confidence that she carries herself is what's so really just striking. And to be able to know that kids get to see her, and again, like I said, not just kids who have the condition, but any condition or any insecurities, to be able to see like, oh, look at this person just not caring that they don't look like the models that she's standing right next to.
Right.
So hopefully, and I can certainly understand the frustration with hearing the same thing over and over again. Samyuktha and I certainly hear that as little women. I mean, I get mistaken for one of them. Like literally people think I'm one of them all the time. And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I wish I had a bank account, but no, I don't.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. This has been it's been great. And when I made that Facebook post to just piggyback off what you just stated, Angela, the inboxes, messages that I was receiving from individuals stating that you really just don't know how you help me. And they're not dealing with my condition. And it was just like, for you to just come out like you did, a person of your stature, just to come out like you did, it just gave me confidence in the things that I'm dealing with. And I'm sure I don't know the magnitude of me sharing on Facebook how it helped others, but I did receive a lot of inbox messages telling me, thanking me for sharing my story because it helped them in their stories and gave them confidence in whatever they was dealing with in their lives. It gave them confidence. So I'm grateful. I'm glad about that. I'm glad about that.
Well, we would definitely like to thank you for, coming on our podcast to share your story and share how there's no other way to live than to live authentically, because
Yes.
you don't know how many lives you're impacting by just, saying, yes, I am here. I'm alive. I have vitiligo and,
Yeah.
and I'm living my dream,
That's
so.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
so we're just happy to have you and to see that confidence, exuding out of you. So we're just excited for our viewers to take something powerful from your story. So we are, in the last few minutes of our episode. So is there anything else you'd like to share about yourself, about you, what you do, your daily life, and anything that you'd like our viewers to know so that they can be better allies for people with vitiligo and, other skin conditions in general?
Sure. Well, my professional life, I am a caseworker, pastor, family man, granddad, dad, husband, brother, and also I do referee basketball and so it puts me in the limelight a lot. See a lot of people. I'm always in the public eye. So I would just want to encourage as many as I can, those that are open to hearing my story, or those that are curious about my story. I'm open to share my journey, and it has been a journey. It's been a journey, and I could tell them about the many times that I felt like just giving up. I felt like this situation, it was overwhelming me, and I felt like just giving up. Thoughts came, but through the grace of God and prayer, I was able to move those thoughts out of the way and wake up and live another day. And so, and I kept going through that. And over the years, I'm 55 years old now. So through those years, every year gave me more confidence of myself. And ultimately, the last thing came this year when God gave me liberation to be free and live my authentic self and not be afraid to allow people into my space to share my story.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so awesome. So thank you again, Darnel, for sharing your story with us and for living authentically and inspiring so many. We really are truly grateful for you being here. Listeners, if any of you have any questions or want to connect with Darnel, we will put his information in the comments, so feel free to reach out to him. But otherwise, we love you and we hope that you all have the best day. Bye, y'all.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
All right.